You're not here as a visitor. You're here for the long haul. You're applying for citizenship. What made you up sticks from the States and join us?
Well, there's the President of the United States that has it out for me and has for 20 years when I told the truth about him on a program called The View, where it was my job to talk about pop culture, politics, and I mentioned his bankruptcies, and I mentioned all of the sexual assault charges, and I mentioned that he was not, in fact, the businessman that everyone thinks he is because of the show The Apprentice, where they sold a bunch of lies to America for over 10 years, and half of America believed it. And so he was very angry, to say the least.
Yes.
And he hasn't let it go, and he sort of uses me as a punchline whenever he feels the need.
Hello folks, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been following US politics for any length of time, you know that some of the clearest truths don't come from politicians. They come from the people they've personally targeted. And few examples are as blatant as Rosie O'Donnell's feud with Donald Trump. Today we're seeing exactly why she's left the US for Ireland, and what that says about the country she once called home. We'll watch the full thing, I'll weigh in along the way, and you can decide for yourself if this is just a personal spat or a warning sign for where America's heading. Let's get into it.
Well, you say he uses, you as a punchline. He was meeting the Taoiseach,
yes.
Micheál Martin, in the Oval Office last week. You're over here kind of minding your own business.
Yes.
And this happens.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
It's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah. I'm joking.
You're better off not knowing.
President Trump.
Yeah, there it is. There he is in all his glory.
How does it feel watching that?
Very, very surreal, I have to tell you. He's been doing it for 2 decades, and I'm still not used to it every time he does. But, you know, I felt very troubled that they put the Taoiseach in that position and didn't treat him with the respect that a leader of that kind deserves when they're visiting the White House. And I wrote the Taoiseach with a little note, apology to his email, and got a note back that they had received it and thanked me. But I just wanted him to know the history and what happened and why he seems to be out to get me in ways that are startling.
The very first thing that stands out here is the absurdity of it all. Rosie O'Donnell's crime was speaking facts. Documented bankruptcies, public allegations, and the puff piece TV image that helped sell a false brand. For that, she's been used as a political punchline for 20 years. Think about that. 2 decades of the leader of the free world making you a personal target, almost to the point now where she feels the need to leave the United States of America.
Most.
You stuck out the last Trump presidency. What's different about this one for you that made you realize you're out?
Well, right away was the problem with Project 2025, which the Heritage Foundation put out, and it detailed what they wanted to do. And I felt that anyone who read that would not be able to sleep as an American.
What type of stuff was in that?
Well, gutting all of the social programs, as he has been doing. Just the other day, he disbanded the Department of Education. And I have a child who has autism, and that child will be denied services, and many, many autistic children, because the funding for these programs for special needs children comes from the federal government as well as the states. And it's going to be disastrous for children on the spectrum. And that was terrifying. But the biggest reason that it was different than the first time he was in office is because of the Supreme Court giving him ultimate power, the powers of a king or a monarch. And that's not what the United States is all about. And it's a terrifying prospect. And in fact, what has happened since he's taken office has been terrifying, I think, for the world and definitely for the United States of America.
You know, a lot of people did vote for him.
Yes.
Do you accept their right to do that and their opinion of him?
Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet. So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her, and Donald Trump was not able to do that. So it's curious to me, and as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened.
It's not just me noticing this. There's a growing wave of people starting to openly question what really went down during the 2024 election. And honestly, that in itself says something about where public trust is right now. So here's what I want from you, especially those of you watching from the States. You lived through it, you saw the headlines, you heard the conversations in your own communities. What's the word on the ground? What have you been hearing, seeing, and feeling since that night? Drop it in the comments below, because these personal accounts matter more than any polished press release. I'm genuinely curious to see if your experiences line up with the bigger picture we're starting to see.
In our country.
How do you think America has changed in the months since he's been elected?
Well, if you talk to any Americans, they're all in shock, or at least the ones that I know. I will have to say I don't really have many people in my life that support him. I don't really understand how people could support a convicted felon and a man who has had so many charges against him and has the moral compass of a teenage boy. And it's heartbreaking, I think, to most of the people in America, and they're slowly waking. They're slowly waking to realize the cuts that he's making are not only going to affect the left-wing liberals that are woke, that they are afraid of and despise. When, as Jane Fonda said recently, being woke means you care about other people, and that's really all that it means.
Conor McGregor ended up in the Oval Office this week. What do you think that says about the state of US politics?
And just so you're clear before we roll this next part, this isn't some late-night comedy skit or a US talk show segment. This is airing in Ireland. Keep that in mind as you watch what's about to happen, because the context makes it even more telling.
It's very depressing. And it seems very strange to me that the President of the United States has so many friends who are sexual abusers.
Why do you think...
So next time you're scrolling through social media and see people claiming the Irish are thrilled at the idea of Conor McGregor leading the country, think back to that round of applause you just watched on Irish television. Let that reaction speak for itself.
What do you think it says about the state of US politics that kind of interaction between, Conor McGregor turning up and being welcomed at the White House and everything being normal? What do you think that says?
Well, I think it says that we're in trouble. It says that we're in trouble. Basically, the foundation of our country is a melting pot of people, all created equal, and that they are to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we're promised as Americans. And to think that cruelty and lack of empathy is a value that is sprouted from the highest office in our country is overwhelmingly sad to me personally, and it felt like way too much to take for me as well, emotionally.
And this last section drives the point home: the normalization of scandal, the casual embrace of figures with disturbing allegations, the applause lines that reveal what audiences will cheer for when leadership fails to lead. Rosie sees it not just as a personal affront, but as a moral crisis, cruelty and the absence of empathy elevated as political currency. For her, the choice to leave wasn't running away, it was acknowledging that the America she believed in was being rewritten into something unrecognizable. So, hearing her perspective forces us to ask the bigger question: how much erosion of values does it take before people decide they can't call a place home anymore? Rosie's answer was clear, and her story is a cautionary tale for the rest of us. If you found this as eye-opening as I did, hit that like button so more people see it, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Rosie made the right choice in leaving? And what does her story say about where America is heading? I'll be reading through and responding.